In this video I'm going to show you that the Ferrari California depreciates at an average depreciation rate of $9,830 per year and why right now might be the perfect moment to enter the market. What's up YouTube and welcome to a new video. So you are in the market for a California? Then you're definitely not alone because this video has been requested by many of you. Now if you're not in the market for a California but somehow still ended up in this video, then you can suggest a car for which you would like to see an analysis. You can simply name the car down below in the comment section. I namely read all of the comments, and once a car has been suggested often enough, I will make a video about it. Also make sure then that you smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get notified when your requested analysis goes live. Now before we continue with the California, I'm going to put a shameless advertisement over here. I am namely selling an almost brand new 2018 Porsche GT3 with only 11 miles and a 2007 Turbo S with only 14,000 miles. And one special thing to mention here is that the Turbo S is a manual car, so quite a rare one. If you happen to be interested in one of the cars, or perhaps both cars, please send me an email. My email address is included in the description of the video. The cars will, by the way, go up for auction quite soon, so don't wait too long if you're interested. Now let's have a good look to the market of the California, and as always we are going to follow a few simple steps to analyze that market. We will namely first have a look to the average price points, and after that we will have a look to the depreciation per year and depreciation per 1000 miles numbers. In step 3 we will then combine the depreciation numbers to make the forecasted prices, and after that I will show you what a fair purchasing price is. All the way at the end of the video I will show you then how all of these depreciation numbers compare to the other cars which I've analyzed on this channel. And I will do that by using the Depreciation Leaderboard. Now let's start with the average price points, and we're going to do that by having a look to the price distributions appearing over here. At the top you can see that we have the distribution for the full market, and below that one we have that same price distribution but split by the different model types. All the way at the bottom you can see then the market split by the used cars and the used cars for sale by dealers. If we start then with the full market at the top, then we can see that the average price for a California is $122,104. We can also see that there are only 290 cars for sale. Prices start then at around $75,000 but stretch up all the way to $180,000. And note that these prices are all advertised prices and that they do not include the 70th anniversary edition of the car. Those namely go for a significant premium over the rest of the market. Now if we have a look to the shape of the distribution, then we can clearly see that it's split into two segments, one on the left and one on the right. And if we move one distribution down, then we see why this is the case. Here you can see namely the split between the normal California and the T. And of course the T is way more expensive and the average premium you pay is $46,215. In terms of the number of cars, the market is however split quite evenly. There are namely 153 normal Californias for sale and 137 Ts. If we also have a quick look to the distribution at the bottom, then we can see the difference between the used cars and the used cars sold by dealers. First of all, you can see that the market is predominantly made up out of cars not sold by dealers. And as you probably expected, these are also a bit cheaper as they go for a discount of around $18,567 compared to the ones sold by dealers. Now since we know now the basic numbers of the California market, it's time to have a look to the depreciation numbers. Those will namely show us how much money you can expect to lose on a California and if the market is already bottoming. Now we will figure out the depreciation numbers with the depreciation curve appearing over here. You can see that we have model year on the horizontal axis and price on the vertical axis, and that each car in the market is represented by a bubble. The blue solid line going through the graph represents the depreciation curve, and the black axis in the graph shows the average price point for that given model year. Now if I put the graph on the big screen, then you can see that the average depreciation rate is $9,839, and you can see that there's quite a strong bottom forming in the market. In the first year, the California namely loses $9,405, while in the 8th year of ownership, this number decreased to $4,127. But we can be a little bit more precise than that. We saw namely in the price distribution graphs at the beginning of the video that the market was clearly split between the California T and the normal California. So let's also split the depreciation curve. The T namely depreciates at an average rate of $10,954 per year and the normal one at a rate of $5,950. And the reason for this is of course quite simple. The California T is a newer car. Now if you look closely to the two depreciation curves, then you can also see that there's a break between the two models. And this signifies that the T is clearly an improved version of the normal California. It has namely an updated design, a new interior, and, although turbocharged, a new engine. Note by the way that there was also a small update for the normal California in model year 2012. The car received a bit more power and was made slightly lighter. You can however see that the effect of this update is minimal. You can't really see a difference between the prices in model year 2012 and the ones in model year 2011. Now the final interesting thing which you can see from the depreciation curves is that some cars are priced significantly below the market averages. You can see that they seem to be almost hanging onto the depreciation curves. And there's of course a good reason for this, because those are namely the high mileage cars. And the fact that they are priced so much under the market averages already tells us something about the significance of the mileage for the price. So let's have a look now as to how many dollars the California actually loses per 1000 miles driven. This namely is a good indication as to how sensitive the price is to the mileage of a car. And we are going to investigate that with the depreciation per 1000 miles graph appearing over here. And you can see that the graph looks the same as the depreciation per year graph, but that we have now the mileage on the horizontal axis instead of the model year. You can see that the California T is losing on average $1,505 per 1000 miles, and that this is $877 for the normal California. You can however see that there are some groups of cars which have a mileage which is significantly higher than the market averages. And you probably guessed that these are the ones which you saw hanging onto the bottom of the depreciation curves. Now if we investigate this graph a little bit further and we look to the shape of the depreciation per 1000 miles curves, then we can also see that, at least for the normal California, the effect of mileage on price starts to decrease once you cross 25,000 miles. For the California T, this is not really yet the case, as you can see that the depreciation curve is actually still a depreciation line. And that means that the depreciation number doesn't change so much once you add mileage to the car. But what does the depreciation per year and the depreciation per 1000 miles driven mean then for the forecasted values of the California market? I mean, is the market likely to bottom out from here on, or could we still expect a further drop? Well, looking to both the depreciation per 1000 miles and to the depreciation per year, it's already quite evident that the market is bottoming out. But let me still show you the forecasted prices, which are appearing right over here. You can see that in blue we still have the normal market, but that in orange we have now the forecasted prices. Also, you can see that there are multiple bubbles, because each bubble represents the forecasted price for a 2009 car 1 year from now. It's also important to mention that each price is based on a car with a different mileage. Now the cars with the lowest forecasted miles are of course ranked at the top end of the price range, and this goes vice versa for the cars with the highest mileage, which are ranked at the bottom end of the price range. You can see however that the average forecasted price point, indicated by the black X, is perhaps a little bit lower than you expected. And the reason for this is that the model behind the forecasted prices discounted the cars with the higher mileage slightly more. This is namely also exactly what we see happening in today's market, where cars with high mileage are discounted significantly. Now for the cars with a mileage close or under the market average, you can see that the depreciation per year is forecasted to be very small. Now we all know that cars are depreciating assets, and the California is no exception to this rule, as we saw from the depreciation curve. But some cars simply depreciate more than others, and by shopping smart you can avoid a lot of depreciation. And note that that doesn't necessarily mean a less fun car. So let's have a look as to how the numbers of the California compare to some other cars which I've analyzed on this channel. And to do that, we're going to use the Depreciation Leaderboard. Now we start off by having a look to the leaderboard, which shows us the relative depreciation per year. You can see that we have the cars now on the horizontal axis and the relative depreciation per year on the vertical axis. Now if we find the California then among all of these cars, then we can see that the T ranks somewhere in the middle at 6.2%, and that the base ranks quite at the top with 5%. And this puts it right next to the likes of the V Advantage and the 997 Turbo. And this is not a bad score at all for a car which is, relatively speaking, quite modern. Now if we have a look to the same leaderboard, but then for the depreciation per 1000 miles driven, then we can see that the picture looks slightly less good. The T and the base namely rank now both somewhere in the middle of the leaderboard and have a score similar to the Corvette C7, the V Advantage and the Nissan GT-R. And for the normal California, this of course means that it moved down compared to the depreciation per year leaderboard. Overall, however, I would say that these numbers are not too bad. They're namely quite comparable to some other cars. Now there's still one leaderboard left which I want to show you, and that leaderboard shows the curvature metric. And this metric shows the extent to which a car market already bottomed. It goes from 0 to 100, where 0 means that there's absolutely no bottom yet in the market, and hundreds means that the depreciation curve is fully bottomed out. If we have a look then to that leaderboard, then we can see that the California has a completion rate of 80%, which further reinforces the idea that the depreciation will be minimal for an older car. If you, by the way, want to know more about this curvature metric, then I recommend that you check out the full video, for which the link will be appearing right over here. Now, if by this point you are convinced that the California is indeed the right car for you, then you definitely need to keep on watching, because I'm going to show you now what a fair purchasing price is. And you probably guessed that I used a mod to figure out what that price should be. I namely inputted the model year, the price, and the mileage to a machine learning algorithm which determines for us if a car is following the normal market dynamics or not. And that of course means that if a car is following the normal market dynamics, it is most likely to be priced fairly. The other way around this of course also means that if it doesn't follow those dynamics, it's most likely to be priced over the market or under the market. Now the result of that analysis you can see over here in the 3D plot, where you can see that we have indeed model year, mileage and the price. The cars are again represented by a bubble, and the darker the color of the bubble, the more likely it is that that car has a fair purchasing price. If we first have a look to the normal California, then we can see that the fair purchasing price ranges between $84,000 and $116,000, and that the cars need to have a mileage of less than 20,000 miles. You can also see very clearly that if you go under $100,000, the mileage goes up significantly, but that the price doesn't decrease proportionately to this increase in mileage. And that means that especially when you're buying at the bottom of the market, you need to be a little bit careful as to what car you are buying. You can namely get a car which offers good value for money, but as you saw from the graph, you can also get a car which simply offers bad value for money. If we have a look then to the market for the California T, then we can see that actually almost the full market is priced quite fairly, as the market still follows a linear depreciation line. And that is something which is quite common for cars which are still relatively new. Alright, those were quite some numbers we went through, so let's wrap things up and conclude on the market. Now that the prices for the normal California dropped far below $100,000, I think that it becomes an interesting proposition for people seeking a GT convertible car. Now it is simply by far the most affordable modern Ferrari in today's market. And as we saw in the analysis, the depreciation numbers going forward, at least for the normal California, don't look so bad at all. Now I would even go as far as to say that the market almost bottomed out. If you're therefore contemplating about getting a California, I would say that now is the right moment to enter the market. Yes, you could of course still explore some other options, like the Bentley Continental, the Mercedes-Benz SL or the Aston Martin DB9. But do they really have the same desirability factor as a Ferrari? In any case, if the front-engine GT layout is not a must for you, then you could also consider an Audi R8 V10 Spider of the first generation. Those namely hover around the same price point and are also at the end of their depreciation curve. All of this of course changes if you're interested in the California T instead of the normal California. Due to the pricing of the T, you namely enter a market segment where the competition is fiercer, and arguably you can find better cars for the money. And on that note we arrive at the end of the video. Now if you enjoyed it, please give the video a thumbs up, as it really helps to support the channel. Also remember to subscribe and to tune in next week for a new depreciation analysis. Thank you for watching, and I see you next time.